Hello, it's Tanya from Where Violets Whisper here. You find me down the bottom of the garden in my sewing shed, which is my favourite place to be because, like a lot of you, I love to sew. Um, I love to see what everybody else is up to too. So I go onto YouTube and I look at the videos and I go on the sewing forums and I, read what people are talking about. And I've noticed recently that there are loads of people who are saying things like, I'd love it if somebody would just show me how to thread up my machine or show me how to wind on a bobbin and then I could get started. So I thought, I can help with that. So today I've got some thread and I got my bobbin and I'm going to show you how to thread up my machine, how to wind up a bobbin. And then I thought we could do some very simple sewing. So I thought we could do a straight line and round a corner and then sewing a curve. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please keep watching. Okay, so here's my sewing machine. On the top of the machine, you'll see two poles. They may be upright or lying down. For threading the machine, you're going to want the left-hand one. So we place our spool on it and then draw the thread out. On my machine, there are visual clues. Here you can see an arrow. We draw the thread around that. Then there are numbers with arrows to guide us. We're going to follow the visual instructions. So here we are, we're down to number 2. That shows us we need to do a U-turn. That's exactly what we do. We're then guided up to number 3 and another U-turn, this time around a little lever. We come down to number 4 and you'll see there's a sort of dog leg look here. We have 2 little braces which we need to go around and then we have the thread ready to thread the needle. I do a quick snip so it's nice and blunt. We thread from front to back, making sure the thread doesn't twist. I like to put my finger behind the eye of the needle because it helps me to be able to see properly and make it easier to thread. I'm now going to show you the process from start to finish so that you can check that you've got it right. I'm just going to use the hand wheel here to make sure that the lever at number 3 is high enough. Okay, that's phase 1 complete. Let's go on to winding the bobbin. So now we're going back to the top of the machine and we're going to place our spool on the right hand pole. Because mine is on the horizontal, I'm going to need to anchor it in place. Next I'm going to draw out my thread and copy this little diagram. The thread goes around the silver button and then comes back over to the right towards where the bobbin will go. The bobbin has a small hole in it. We're going to wind a bit of thread on and then bring up the thread through that hole. That helps to wind the thread on more efficiently and tidily. Next we place it on the little fitting and we lock it in place. Now we will use the foot pedal to wind the thread onto the bobbin. You can do as much or as little as you like. Just keep an eye on it while it's doing. And when you're ready, you stop and then you cut it off and unlock it. Your bobbin is ready to use. Now we need to insert it. I have a top loading mechanism. You may have a front loading one. The principle is the same. You open it up so that you can get to the bobbin case. Mine needs to be loaded clockwise, so I load it, draw the thread round, and then make sure it clicks into place. The click is really important because it tells you it's securely placed in the bobbin case. So next we're going to bring the bobbin thread up to meet the top thread. We hold the top thread and then use the hand wheel to lower the needle. The top thread loops round the bobbin thread and brings it up to the top. We pull it through and then take them both through the presser foot to the back. We put the little flap back on and I'm going to show you that from another view now. So there we are, the bobbin's in. We pull that thread and get that little click. We hold the top thread out with some tension, lower the needle and then watch as it creates that loop and drags the bobbin thread up to the top. So that's our machine all set up. Now we're ready to sew. Okay, so you're going to need a couple of pieces of scrap fabric. Mine are about 4 or 5 inches square, that sort of size, and they're woven cotton. We need a really stable woven fabric to get started, nothing stretch. Let's make it easy for ourselves. So next we take our 2 pieces of fabric to the machine. We lower the presser foot, and then we use the hand wheel to lower the needle. If it's not quite in the right place, then we reposition and then put the needle in again. We make sure that we have both pieces of thread at the back so that they don't get drawn into the sewing and make a mess. With our needle in the fabric, we then start sewing. We're going to use a basic running stitch somewhere about 2.5 to 3 in length. And we're just going really slowly. If we panic, we stop, we take a breath, and then we start again. We go as slowly as we need to. It's not a race. Don't panic as you get towards the end, and don't get overconfident. Just stay slow, and that's it. So we bring our needle up out of the fabric, we raise the presser foot, we take it to one side, and then we cut off the thread. Okay, well that's the first step done. We've got a straight line. Do you see? If you veered off a bit, don't worry, it's only a scrap bit of fabric. Practice makes perfect. And really the main thing is just keep steady, even if it means going 1 stitch at a time. You'll get better. So now we'll do a straight line and round a corner. So once again, we take our fabric to the machine, we lower the presser foot, we lower the needle into the fabric, we make sure we position it just exactly right. Ready to start sewing. We take our threads out of the back, make sure they're out of the way, don't get caught up in our sewing. This time we're going to introduce a locking stitch at the beginning and the end of our sewing. You could also do a reverse stitch if that's your preference on your machine. We use those stitches to strengthen the sewing and to prevent it from unravelling. Okay, I got a little bit fast there. I'm zooming towards that corner, aren't I? When I get towards the corner, I'm going to stop with my needle in the fabric. I'm going to lift the presser foot and then I'm going to pivot the fabric before placing the presser foot back down in exactly the right place and starting to sew again towards the final part of my line. And again, when I get there, I'm going to do a locking stitch. Okay, you can see where I went a little bit fast, I veered off the line a bit. You see, it can happen to any of us, but don't worry. Overall, it's fine. So that's it. We've done a straight line, a line with a corner. Let's go ahead and do a curve. We're doing all the same things again. Placing the fabric, lowering the presser foot, lowering the needle, making sure the thread is out of the way, doing our locking stitch, and now we're starting. The curve is a little bit more complicated. We have to take it really steady because we're going to be doing a lot of pivoting. Every time we come round to an angle, we need to stop with our needle in the fabric, lift our presser foot, pivot, lower the presser foot, sew a few more stitches. Leave the needle in the thread, lift the presser foot, pivot, lower the presser foot, and just keep doing this all the way until you get to the end of the line. And don't forget, we're going to do a locking stitch at the end of this. There probably aren't going to be that many times in your sewing career where you have to sew as tight a curve as this, but it's a really good practice and a good discipline for when you do have to sew lines that go slightly curved. It teaches you the techniques, which will come in so handy. So there you go, in a very short space of time we've learned how to thread up our machine, fill a bobbin, and now we can sew a straight line, pivot round a corner, and we can do a curve. And with those sewing skills, there is so much you can do. That is the foundation for most of the sewing that you're going to do. So I hope that's been really helpful. And if you'd like to, there's a button underneath which you could subscribe to, and I'd love to see you next time. Bye.